Okay, it's time. We're getting rid of the open flame. Here we go. Electricity. You know from your study of theater history that we started lighting the stage with sunlight first of all, right? We had outdoor theater. That's where you saw a play outside. Why? Because we needed sunlight to be able to see things. Eventually, theater moves indoors during the Renaissance, and then it stays there. How do we light it then? Candles. We're going to stick with candles for about 300 years until some technology comes along that can make, using still open flame, can make the stage brighter, can make light more controllable, and get more effects. What does that? Gaslight. Gaslight gets sort of a nice friend and complication, accessory maybe, through limelight, which is still using gas, is still using an open flame, but can deliver other effects, special effects, spotlights, that gas by itself is not able to do. Still though, open flame. How do we do better? We do better with the electric light. Ta-da, there it is. Okay, 1879, Thomas Edison, the genius of Menlo Park, creates the first working incandescent lamp. There's a picture of it, the Edison electric lamp. He patented it the next year in 1880. He demonstrated that the invention worked in December 1879. The next month, January 1880, he patented it and will eventually become quite a rich man based not only on the electric light, but on the systems for electricity delivery that he also invents. Really, that's why Thomas Edison was so interested in inventing the incandescent lamp. It's because he had this vision for creating all the systems necessary to provide electricity to cities and towns across the country. And the incandescent lamp was the first step towards that vision, but really that's what he wanted to do. But he worked very hard, very specifically on developing a working incandescent lamp so that he could get to this other goal he had. Other people, other inventors were also working on perfecting the incandescent lamp, but Edison gets there faster, gets there first. The crux of the problem, you see, was finding a filament that would not disintegrate once electricity ran through it. Other inventors were trying other materials for the filament, but it was Edison who found the material that could take the electric current, illuminate, and not disintegrate, so that it was a working lamp. That's why he put all his attention to doing, and it worked. And from there, he then was able to develop other things he wanted to do, which were specifically systems for electrification. Thank you, Thomas Edison. That was a big help. So again, look at the date on that patent paper, January 1880. That's when he patents it. It is the next year, friends, 1881, that the Savoy Theatre in London becomes the first theater to be lighted entirely with electricity. Look how quick that is. Really fast adoption. Why did the theater industry adopt this technology so quickly? What do you think? What are some of the reasons you think they would adopt it? Yeah, right? The main reason is that it doesn't have an open flame, and therefore it is safer. It's not just safer for patrons. I'm sure that all these theater practitioners wanted their patrons to be safe. They wanted themselves to be safe, right? But also theater owners wanted their goods and materials not to be destroyed by fire. It was expensive to have theater fires and also dangerous for personal welfare. So getting to the point where we did not have to have open fire was a priority. And once we had it, open flame, once we had it, theaters adopted this because despite the expense of electrification, it was ultimately a money-saving investment, right? Also, electricity was cool. Once people saw this, once it started to be a public feature, the electrified signs, light bulbs on the outside of buildings, it was the coolest thing to have, and theaters could not compete if they did not electrify. Ultimately, their ability to attract an audience became dependent on their adoption of this technology. And So they did. They adopted it. Theater's changeover to electricity is total and almost immediate. For about 20 years, some theaters did still use limelight in a limited application for follow spots. So they kept some gas instruments in order to do that. Not all theaters did, but some did. But that will go away too as soon as an electric spotlight is perfected and made available, which is about 1904. Other than that, I think we can say that theaters' changeover to electricity is total and almost immediate, to the extent that a light bulb becomes sort of an icon of Broadway, of public theater. Lit up signs is a feature of our industry. Electricity and theater become friends and have stayed that way ever since. Yes, we continue to make better lighting instruments, but they're still using electricity. The Fresnel spotlight is invented in 1929. Ellipsoidals are introduced in the early 1930s. We get to the early 2000s, and the LED technology is improving fast enough that it's making inroads into theater application, reducing heat, therefore being even safer, using less energy, still though electric dependent. Electricity revolutionizes theater. Theater helps to popularize electricity. It's quite a friendship. So that's how we get from sunlight to candles to gaslight to limelight to electricity and on to LEDs. It's a pretty interesting history, I think. The last little bit of this unit is a mini lecture on one of my favorite dudes in theater history, Mariano Fortuny. He has a tiny little lecture to follow this because I just think he's way cool, and he invents some interesting lighting devices, but he also invents a lot of other cool stuff, and I just can't help myself. I want you to know about him. So I'll meet you there, and we'll talk about Mariano Fortuny.